So here again, we're going to the next section where we're going to discuss about the bidding strategy using the ROAS platform. So as far as the bidding strategy is concerned, there are different types of bidding strategy, right? So the first one we discuss about is the manual bidding strategy or the standard bidding strategy, and the other type is the portfolio bidding strategy. Right, so in the manual bidding strategy, or let's say if we're discussing about the standard bidding strategy, there are pretty much a few types we can love to come up with the TCPA bidding strategy. The other is target ROAS bidding strategy, where it could be maximize clicks per or the maximize conversion bidding strategy. Right. So the moment we discuss about this sort of standard bidding strategy or the approach or the vision behind coming out with this sort of bidding strategy, it just depends on what your goals and objectives are. And it also depends on what type of campaign you would love to come up with. If you are supposed to analyze the TCP target ROAS, so target ROAS might fit on one sort of campaign, but they might not fit the other sort of campaign. So again, it depends on the business nature as well. And pursuit budget. So there are three things we just play right here in terms of choosing which sort of bidding strategy you want to go on with. So the first one is the business nature. And the second is your objectives and the budget. And the third one is pretty much important. Third one is the type of ad campaign you want to come up with, whether it's search, YouTube, or the shopping. So on the basis of that, and plus on the basis of competition as well. So once you run an ad for 1 to 7 days, you're going to find out what sort of competition are you in. Right. So once you figure out these four things, then it becomes pretty much easy for you to select a right bidding strategy for your business. Right. So let's say if we discuss about the DCBA, this is only suitable when you have an enormous amount of conversion, independent of any stage of the funnel and independent of any type of ad campaign. But so let's say if you wanna get conversion X on a certain amount, you need to increase your TCP amount above that. So let's say if I'm supposed to bring cost per acquisition or the target cost per action at $5, I'm going to give algorithm a feeding of $10. There's a difference of $5 in between your expected and what you want to try to bring back from the TCPA. Or I mean, the reason behind being a difference of $5 in order to bring down TCP as per your choice, and just because you want to give an access to an algorithm where they can reach after or chase after each and every customers, right? So the moment you squeeze them, they're going to work properly. So your first job is to make them free, as much free as you allow them to chase after all those high conversion value in client customer. So they're going to work properly. And again, it does bring back pretty much good enough, whatever the fun keyword, but independent of ROS. So let's say on some customer or on some campaign, or let's say if you're on a TCP campaign on a search ad type or on a search ad campaign, let's say if you are coming up with a TCP strategy on a search ad campaign type, so on some conversion it might increase your ROS, but whereas in some other conversions, so let's say out of 10, the 5 conversion might bring you a good ROS and the rest 5 might bring you a low ROS. In fact, pretty much less than what you were expecting. So it works independent of your target ROAS, right? But if you talk about the target ROAS bidding strategy, the target ROAS bidding strategy, the obvious one when you have a high budget, right? Because you're just asking algorithm to draw a line where you're going to only extract out the bottom of the funnel audience, right? You don't want to spend your penny of amount on the middle of the funnel audience. So you just want the bottom of the funnel audience and in fact a high value audience, right? So in that case, let's say if you're expecting to bring down an ROS of 10x or 20x, you're going to start algorithm in such a way and you have to allow them again to chase after all those high value customers. So let's say if you want to target ROAS of 5x or 10x, you got to set your ROAS to 2x amount. Now, what it does, independent of conversion value, they're going to bring down the ROS of almost 2x to 5x. So at the initial phase, they might bring an ROS of 2x, but with increasing time and with further optimization, they will bring back pretty much zero or your ROS down to 5x. But the major flaw here is you won't expect this target ROAS bidding strategy to bring back a high conversion value customer every time. So some customer might buy your product which has a low value or which has a low profit margin, right? And some customer might, buy a product where you have a high margin. So again, it depends what sort of product you are coming on with, or whether if you are supposed to run a legit business. So this is how the target ROAS works. They do bring down or bring back a good amount of whatever the find keyword, but they don't have the defined areas or defined areas, but it's still better than TCP only if you have a high budget. If you don't want to be just after the ROS, a TCP is fine. If you want to get a confined ROS, a limited, the traditional ROS, then the target ROS video strategy is pretty much good to go. And if you go with the maximize click, I would never insist you to go with the maximize click unless you don't have a low budget. So at least if you have a low budget, it's pretty much good to go with the phase mask keyword and then and a maximize click strategy, so that it will override or it will outage all those irrelevant traffic, right? And let's say if you have average budget and if you have a good amount of conversion data, then you can pretty much rely on that maximize conversion. But again, if you want to scale, you have to come up front, or you have to be a little bit a step ahead from the maximize conversion reading strategy. That means you have to shift yourself to the TCP or the target ROAS on the long run. But again, in order to shift on that higher mode from maximize conversion to a different sort of reading strategy, you have to see where you often lie in the auction size report, whether you are somewhere around your competitors or not. If you're low down, if you're pretty much down in reference to your competitor position, then I don't insist you to shift your video strategy from maximize conversion to TCP or target ROAS. Now again, as far as maximize conversion varies, it was similar to the target ROAS, but it just after only high conversion value customer. But it does demand your high budget, and pretty much high budget, I would say. And it's not only about the budget and what about the keywords finding, which has a low, or you can say it's not only about the finding of whatever the final audience with high conversion value and high budget. It's also about what sort of product you are coming up with. It might just after the high value customer, but if you don't have a high value product fitting in for that customer, it doesn't make any sense to work with maximum skills and matter. So this is one thing. And again, target impressions, say if you want a brand awareness, it's pretty much good to go with target impressions. So this was all about short brief regarding the types of building strategy in the Google ad. And you can pretty much discuss in a deep way or even a deep dive in our practical mode regarding about all this building strategy as per the different campaign level and the consumer journey, and plus a different ad format as well. Yeah, so let's move to the practical mode now. So here we are to the practical mode of discussing about the building strategy. So we are already much done the theoretical part of how the portfolio building strategy or the automatic building strategy do actually work on or work with. Right now, yeah, you can see in part of my screen, I'm going to let you walk through two ways of setting up building strategy. So one way is, say, if you go into the campaign, you can select any campaign you would love to. Yes, for example, select this manual this campaign, which is dynamic search ad campaigns. The moment you click on the dynamic search ad campaign, you're going to land in this environment. You have to go into the setting mode at the campaign level. That is where you're going to find your building strategy to be set on. So let's say here's the one that I was discussing about. As you can see, I have come up with an automated building strategy. So either you can set your TCPA amount with this maximize conversion building strategies. The moment you set your target cost per action amount, it just become maximize conversion with TCPA bidding strategy. If not, then it will stay as it is, just as maximize conversion bidding strategy only. Now, having said that, if you want to change your bidding strategy moving ahead, then you're going to click on your changing bidding strategy. Then now you're going to get the options of conversion value. So if you choose the conversion, you can stick to the maximize conversion and the TCPA amount that you'd be with. If you go on with the conversion value, then you can set by default it is considered to be a maximum conversion value bidding strategy. If you set here the TOS amount, automatically it becomes a maximized conversion value with TOS. That is how the bidding strategy is defined here. So if you want to get a 4x 5x of output on instead of campaign, you're not supposed to give a 5x or the 500% number here. But the moment you do that, you're just squeezing to bring the desired output that you want from there. So you can't squeeze the algorithm. You can instead do is you have to load down your ROAS amount. So let's say if you set it at 200%, now your algorithm just try to be still and easy here, so that it just is after the required amount of high converting audience. And then once it hit the TOS of 200%, then slowly you can feed them on the higher tier TOS on each and every 10 days of interval, right? So once you're clearing, then you can ask them to set a 300% of TOS and then 400%. And then finally you can ask them to 500%. So this is the way to feed the algorithm in order to bring down the TOS of 500%, right? So this is how the actual bidding strategy works on. Now, the moment you go with the click one, so so the maximize click bidding strategy. So the moment you choose this clicks option, it will give you set your maximize click bid strategy. So again, you can set a maximum CPC bid limit, but you got to you got to have an eagle eye view on this maximize CPC bid limit. Once you're on a maximize click campaign, so it is generally used for the SaaS based lead gen business, where you often come up with a phrase as keyword, because the cost per each click is pretty much high. So you want to get a relevant click, and then or you always love to retarget them on the YouTube or display channel, rather than on the broad mass keyword. So in that case, you generally open this maximize. If you want a certain initial phase of a campaign, then it's pretty much good to go with the maximize click bidding strategy. But on every 7 days of interval, you're going to see your auction insights from here. You can see here the insights, and the moment you click on the auction insights, you're going to get this sort of report, right? Let's say if you are looked down on this auction insights tab, you got to increase your maximize clicks. The moment you increase your maximize click value, it's get an algorithm a chance to uplift your ad rank and position in an ad auction, so you can jump that from this fourth position to the first one, right? Having said that, your quality score is pretty much good enough, right? So that is how it actually works. So this is how you can set up sensitivity limit. So at the initial page, you can set one, and then you can see where your stats in the auction insights. Once you're done with it, then you can play around with all this, the maximum CPC amount, right? And this is the impression share. Now the problem here is, or the main focus while choosing on the impression share, you might be wondering, why should I go for a click, right? It's fine. But the moment you choose this impression share, you can instruct the algorithm, to let your ad be actually of search result page. So once you're done with this sort of setting, you just set your ad song on the top of the search engine every now and then, but that's not the case, because the implicit set does allow your ads to be shown on the absolute top result, but it doesn't guarantee the right position, right? To be more precise, it doesn't guarantee the right position at a certain the convertible keyword. So what happens is, sometimes if you choose this implicit share bidding strategy, your ad will be shown on the top of the result pages, but it's shown on those sort of broad mass keyword, which doesn't make any sense for your business or which end to your business. So that's why I usually don't prefer, or the most of the the expertise or the expert guys don't prefer to go with the impression share unless they don't have a linear objective of the visibility, right? The business objective of visibility is there, or the visibility should be the business objectives. But again, the visibility doesn't bring you the conversion, right? Because it also has a two definition. One is so the visibility on those sort of placement where your ads get clicked, and the visibility on those sort of placement where your ad doesn't get clicked. So the first one would always be there. Now, the moment you talk about the first one, you got to choose the maximize click or any sort of conversion based bidding strategy. The impression share is not good enough to go with. Now, going back, so you can see here, there's a select a bidding strategy directly, which is not recommended. So you can see here the portfolio bidding strategy. Come to the direct. So as far as the bidding strategy is concerned, this is the one method of setting your bidding strategy, right? Now, you can also set your bidding strategy from here. The moment you go into the tool section, option of budgeted bidding, under this, you have to choose the second option. The moment you choose the second option, you'll be landing on this section, right? The moment you click this, so you can see here, there's a steps of automated bidding strategy. Right? So what you can do instead is, so when you click on this blue plus button, you want to choose these options here. So this is setting the bidding strategy from this position is slightly different than sitting on the campaign level, because you're going to need in a few additive features here. So let's say if you're setting the target CPA, you can name a CPA like, CVC. I'm just giving a dummy name here. You can also set the captain from here onwards, right? Then let me tell you, the PMAX campaign will not be eligible to entertain this sort of bidding strategy. So that is one thing you have to be completely, be aware of. And you can see here, there's only a manual sort of campaign being available when we talk about the automated bidding strategy at this level, right? You can set your desired amount, and then you can also create a separate user portfolio bidding strategy. So you can also share your budget, right? But I would insist you not to do so. And then there's the advanced option. The moment you select the advanced option, you can select the minimum bidding limit and the maximum bidding limit, which you often get at the campaign level while setting up the bidding strategy or coming up with the bidding strategy. So is the main difference. Bring back to the other sort of bidding strategy that we use list, right? So the maximize conversion is there. So the maximize conversion you can see here. It's same. The only difference is you can see the campaign out here, right? So it's completely simple as you discussed a little bit moment before. So start CPA, maximize conversion is done with it. So now you can also click on maximize click. You can also click the maximum cost per click bidding limit from here onwards. So you can see the usual difference or the consistent difference is that you have an option of entertaining a set budget with the portfolio bidding strategy, right? So portfolio bidding strategy you set up at the campaign level on any sort of XYZ budget. You can also say that with this sort of portfolio bidding strategy or automated bidding strategy. So that is how we talk about things pretty much discuss at this level, setting the bidding strategy. So again, just to sum up, so let's say if you have a low budget, I would rather suggest to go with the maximized conversion, right? And set a maximum the CPC amount while running with the maximized conversion bidding strategy at the initial phase of campaign, right? And if you have a B2B SaaS-based sort of business, then it's better to rely on the maximized click. And it is a cost per action. So it is feasible to in both the cases, whether you are running a search campaign or shopping campaign, right? Or the search campaign for the e-com business or the search campaign for the lead business. It is pretty much suitable in both the cases. But once you start getting conversion amount, then only I would insist you to switch your bidding strategy to target TCPA, right? And then the moment you want to scale your business, then it's pretty much good to go with the target ROAS or the maximum conversion value. So I would definitely restrict myself within the environment of running a target ROAS bidding strategy. And once after first 3 months, if I start getting a good amount of conversion value, then I can switch my bidding strategy to a maximized conversion value. But I would not rather choose this target investment same unless I have a target objective of visibility from a brand or from a business. So that is how things are usually, preferred while coming up with a different sort of bidding strategy on the campaign level and all the tool side of features. So let's move to the next section about running a different sort of campaign and then adjusting this sort of bidding strategy within that campaign as well.